Hey guys and gals, love to fly helis here. Well, we decided to start a new project. I've had a whole closet full of these things all through the winter and I didn't get anything done, so I've been itching. So we're going to get started on this one. This is Great Plains Chapman Eagle 580. This is a 3D plane. I don't know how it's going to fly yet, but we will find out. It seems to be built very good, but anyway, let's open the box up and see what we got here. Alrighty, got it all out of the box. Everything looks really good. Fuselage, nicely painted cowl, wheel pants, landing gear, wheels, got a blue plastic nose cone, which I will change to probably a blue anodized aluminum if I can get it. I just don't care for the plastic, but spinner on your starter always eats them up. But anyway, two-piece adjustable motor mount, fuel tanks. I think these are probably servo cover trays for the cover the servos and the ailerons. Parts bag with shrink wrap and wing bolts, control horns, all the metal hardware. This most sliders, tail wheel, and some spars and stuff in there. This is the stab. It's a two-piece stab. Bottom of it's blue, top's yellow. This plane comes already pre-hinged, all glued in and everything. It also has carbon fiber wing tube. It has carbon fiber tubes for the stab, so it is removable for transport if you need to. It slides on there and then bolts on to the side of the fuselage with screws. Of course, the vertical fin, you have to glue it in because you can't put it on till later, I guess, but anyway, or it wouldn't fit in the box. There's the bottom of the wings. There's embry-riddle on the bottom, blue. Tops are yellow. We do have a little bit of wrinkling in the ailerons, but the heat gun will take that all out. Won't be a problem. Well, this plane is a 46 two-stroke, 46 to a 61 or 91 four-stroke, and we are going to be running the new OS, the FS95V four-stroke on this. I have the 62V in my Spitfire, and I absolutely love that little engine. It just cranks right over the first flip of the prop and it purrs like a kitten. I've never had an ounce of trouble, so let's hope this 95 runs as good. It'll be just slightly overpowered. This is a 3D plane. It has very large control surfaces on them, and I'm not very good at 3D, and I really am not even that interested in 3D. It's okay, but I'd rather just fly an airplane like it's supposed to be flown. But this motor should have plenty of power. We'll be running a 13 or 14 inch. I can run up to a 15 inch prop, but probably 13.7 or 15 or 14.6, something like that. We'll try. We'll just have to play with it and see what it'll do. So anyway, we'll get started on the build on this thing. Okay. Most manuals start out on the wing. We've got our wings laid out, got some wrinkles to iron out of it a little bit, and we'll pull these out. We're getting ready to put our servos and linkage in here. You will need your radio and your receiver and battery for that, so you can set that up. But I've got my stuff laid out here. I've got my control horns and clevises, and their safety links for your clevises. These are safety links for the other end. Got my servos laid out. This is a package of servo arms that comes with it, and I probably on the ailerons won't use real long servo arms, but I will on the rudder and elevator if you want to 3D with this at all. But anyway, got all that laid out. Now this kit calls for 6-inch extensions on your servos, and that's so it will reach from here out. You have enough length to plug it in inside the plane to your Y harness, or dual channels, whatever you decide to do on your receiver. But what we're going to do here is I normally make my own extensions, as you've probably seen. I did a video on it, but I'm out of the little tips. I have very few tips right now, so what I'm going to do on this, instead of making an extension, I just cut the lead to the servo, and one thing you want to do on this, I've never had one fail, but plug your servo in, make sure it works properly before you cut this wire, because if there's something wrong with it, once you do this, you can't return it. But if you check it first, you're okay. You cut the wire in half, and what I'm going to do is solder the joints and just make a long lead, and I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a second. We'll get that done, and then we'll start installing them in the wing. Okay, some of the tools you're going to need for soldering: a pair of scissors to cut your shrink wrap. You're going to need a good quality pair of wire strippers, and I like these small ones. I actually got these from a little kind of a junk thrift store. They're brand new, but I ended up getting them for like $4 a pair. I got 3 pair of them. They're good quality. Sears has a very nice quality. I have a pair of those also in my main toolbox, but they're good quality. And it's got a cutter on it and all the little strippers for your wires on there. Another thing you're going to need is these are very, very handy. You can do it without this, but I don't know how I live without it, but you can. These are very handy, and most of them have a magnifying glass attached to it, which I have one of those too. My eyesight's not that bad yet, but anyway, these little alligator clips are great. You can buy replacement clips when these get worn. These are getting pretty worn, as you can see. They just wing nut unscrews and they come out and you can change them. Those are 2 of the very handy tools you're going to need. You're also going to need soldering irons. This is a heavy-duty soldering iron. It has different tips to put on here, but this is for larger wire. You're not going to want to use this on these little servo leads, but anything larger. And it's, you know, activated by a trigger. And this one here is a little, I don't know what you really call it. I call it a pencil soldering iron. It's just a 1 temp. You plug it in, let it heat up. But this is for your lighter wires like these servo leads and stuff. Is all you need. And you can get different wattages on here. I don't even know what this one is, but you will definitely need that. Soldering is not hard to do. It's very easy to learn how to do. You just mainly need to learn how to use your soldering iron on the wire to let it heat up before you put your solder on it, so the solder will flow, and then you can use this to pull it around and cause it to flow. So just practice a little bit, and it's very easy to learn to solder. The solder I use on my wiring in this is a 6040 rosin core solder. I get mine at Radio Shack. There's actually still one in our area that's in business. A lot of them have gone, but any electronic shop will have this stuff that you need. So Walmart even has soldering irons, and they probably have some solder too, but I try to stay out of Walmart anytime I can. I don't care for them. But anyway, that's the tools you're going to need to solder your leads and stuff. So okay, now to do this, of course, you're going to have to know how to solder. This small light wire like this will just take a little small pencil soldering iron. You can get them in different wattage. I don't even know what watt this is. I've had it a long time. It'll be plenty for this light wire. You're going to need some shrink wrap, heat shrink, which I get most of my heat shrink, these rolls like this, I'm fortunate enough to have a Harbor Freight near me, real close to where I work. You can order it online through their catalog, but it's very, very reasonable. These big old rolls, you can get all different sizes and several colors, and I keep a drawer full of it. I probably got 10 rolls of this stuff because I use a lot of heat shrink. The other place, if there's still a Radio Shack around, they have all different sizes and these big 3-foot lengths of this stuff and all different colors, and I think this is like a 1/16 of an inch or 3/16 or something. It's small for these individual wires. You're going to need a bunch of that, and what I've done here is cut little pieces, and what we're going to do is we're going to stick those down over each individual wire like that, and get them all 3 on there. Okay, and you want to tear these wires down far enough that those won't be close to your heat, because the heat will transfer through there and make that shrink on you. So you want it big enough to go over the little bit of a knot of solder. So you want to put that on there before you solder your joint together. And then after we do that, what I'm going to do with this big piece is I'm going to slide it on down here over this piece way down, and then what we'll do after we get the 3 joints soldered with the small heat shrink, then I'm going to pull this big piece over the whole thing and solder that down. Strip your wires back about not, you know, quarter of an inch, not even, maybe a quarter of an inch. Twist them up good, and I've got 2 or 3 of these little doohickeys here that I use. They work really well. So we will put our first wire in there. Got this side. One thing too you want to watch when you're stripping these wires, I put a knife blade in between them to start them, but when you pull them apart, really be careful and watch that you don't tear the coating. When I pulled the black off, it stuck to the red and it exposed the wire. So look in there and make sure your wires are not exposed in the middle of that, because that's not good. So anyway, I've got that all done, and this extension wire that I make extension out of, I buy mine at Tower Hobbies. It's like $17 for a 50-foot roll, and it lasts a long time. I mean, I make a lot of leads, but I'm still working on a 50-foot roll that I've had for quite some time. Now, I'm not gonna really bother with twisting these together. You can give it just a little bit of a twist there to kind of hold it. You just don't want any fray wire sticking out. Get these out of the way, because you want your heat shrink to slide up over that. Alright, now this is a rosin core solder that I use, and it's this is 60/40. It works really well. You want to hold your iron on that wire and let it heat up, and be careful not to pull it apart. Let your solder run down in there, make sure it flows good. You can take the tip of this and just heat it up and make sure it's nice and uniform all the way around. No bare wires. You don't want any sharp edges on this stuff that will poke through your heat shrink. So it's got a sharp point from the solder. It will poke through and penetrate your heat shrink, so you want to be sure that's nice and smooth. Now, just to show you what we're going to do here, instead of doing all 3 of them, we'll take this. Now I'll slide that right up over that wire, and you can use a lighter, like a charcoal grill lighter, a little cigarette lighter, but my favorite is just use my heat gun that I do for covering. It works really well. You want to be careful not to point this towards your other heat shrink down there. You just turn that on, and this thing puts off a lot of heat, and it will just shrink that right up. There you go. You gotta be careful, you'll burn your fingers, but there's one of them, and we'll do all of them like that. Let's do the next one. Make sure you get your colors where they belong. Make sure your heat shrink pieces stay on here. You don't want them to slide off. I have had them slip off and didn't notice it, and then solder it together, and it kind of ticks you off because you got to unsolder it then to put your heat back on. Now, it's kind of important too to get these the same length, so if you do twist them a little bit, don't get them shorter than the one you just soldered, because you want this to be the same length all the way around. So if I can get those, alright, I got it. I think you can see that. Alright, we'll start under here and hold that on the wire and let it get, you want the wire heated up so the solder will flow. It won't flow good if you don't heat the metal that you're putting it on first. So let's hold that on there for just a little bit, and then I'll stick my solder on the wire and then the tip of the soldering iron, and then we'll just work that in. It should, if your wire's hot, the right temperature, it should just flow right through there. I'm getting out of whack here. And completely cover it. Like I said, roll it around and make sure you don't have any sharp points or edges sticking up. Smooth that down with your iron. Make sure it's covered all the way around. What you do. Let's take these out of here, and let's do the red one. It's had time to cool down. We'll slide our heat shrink up over that. I can get it for the little burrs. If you try to slide it on there while it's still hot, then it will start it to shrink, and it's kind of hard to get over there. So make sure it's centered good. Alright, we pull our wires. They're pretty much the same length. I got a little bit, red one's slightly shorter than the others, if you can see, but it'll still work. Alright, we got 2 of them there. Get the heat gun. Keep your fingers back out of the way, because this will burn you. This thing gets hot. It's like a super duper blow dryer. Alright, now we've got that joint all done. Now we're going to pull the big piece up, and we're going to center it over that, and we're going to heat it. This works much easier if you have a blow gun than using a lighter. A lighter will work, but that's what I used to use. But I really prefer this heat gun to this. So just get your ends kind of heated down so they don't hang up on your spars going through your wing. Alright, there you go. Now you have a servo with a 6-inch extension in it, all soldered up and heat shrink. It's tough. You can pull on that pretty good. It won't come loose. It'll go into the wing where it won't be exposed to anything. And there you have it. That's one way to do it, other than buy expensive servo leads. Some of them things can run $4 or $5 a piece, and even the longer they are. We do have a place that we get these if you want to buy your servo leads. They're heavy duty. He has JR brand heavy duty, and he has the Futaba brand, which is the black, red, and white color. Anyway, he can get any length from badbradgraphics.com for $3 a piece. Doesn't matter if they're 6 inches long or 14 inches long. And you can order 5 of them or 25 of them, and the shipping is $3 on that. So that's a good cheap place to get them if you don't want to build your servo leads. I just enjoy doing it, and I like to do my own. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to buy them, he also has Y harnesses, and these are not cheap off-brand. They are JR brand and Futaba brand Y harnesses and servo extensions for $3 a piece, and that's from badbradgraphics.com. Okay, before we assemble this wing, which the ailerons are already hinged, so we just have to mount servos. There is a bunch of wrinkles on just the aileron. The rest of it's not bad. It's only on the aileron. So we're going to take our iron with a nice clean pad on it, and we're going to try to get most of those wrinkles out. We'll get them ironed down the best we can with this, and then we'll use the heat gun to finish them up. Now, this is monocoat, is what Great Plains uses, and it takes a lot of heat. You have to turn your iron up to between 2.5 and 3. They're on 2 3/4 to get enough heat, and you have to hold it on there for quite a while. So don't be afraid on monocoat to give it quite a bit of heat. It just takes a lot more than other covering to get this to iron down. But we're going to get most of these wrinkles out with the iron. What little ones doesn't pull out, we'll go back over with the heat gun. And it's much easier to do this now than after your plane's assembled, because obviously your pieces are easier to work with instead of the whole plane. Now, if you go out flying on a hot day like we've had, 100-degree temperature, even with towels over your plane, if you can't keep them in the shade, chances are your covering's going to bubble up, because that heat's going to loosen some of this glue. You may have to bring it home and do this again to keep your covering down. But it's going down. It's just taking quite a bit of heat there. So we're going to do this to both wings before we actually assemble them. So we'll be back on that in just a minute.